Okay, so this document that I'm going to go over with you is about introducing quotes and commentary. So if you've already watched the writing strategy video, then you kind of have an idea of what needs to go in here. If you haven't watched it yet, make sure you watch it because these two definitely go hand in hand. So introducing quotes, a lot of students and even adults have a hard time figuring out, okay, I know I want to use whatever this snippet of information, quote, fact, whatever, I want to put it in my paper, but I don't know how to. So I'm just going to throw quotes around it and call it good. Or just say, I found this quote, blah, 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 which don't do that. That it can be very tricky. It can be very intimidating. But with the writing strategy document that I've given you guys, and with this introducing quotes and commentary document that I'm giving you, that should really help take a lot of that pressure off of you in figuring out how to make your paper flow and all of that, because it really takes a lot of the guesswork out of what to say and how to say it. So let's look at this. Let's have more of the video, less of me. If I can, there we go. All right, less of me. So introducing quotes. Now, this particular document, I found it several years ago, but as you can see, it has like characters' names. So it can be used for fiction, like if you're writing based off of a book. I guess it can be nonfiction too. So you can use it in terms of basically any kind of genre that you're having to write about, or the type of writing you have to do. And so sometimes you might have to use it a little loosely, but it definitely helps. So introducing quotes. So this can be, whether it be from a research paper, or it could be from a book if that's what you're having to do like a book report or something. So when directly quoting a narrative text, so if you were using it for a narrative text and if you were quoting a narrative text, for example, here on top it says the character's name. So say Harry Potter. So Harry Potter states blah, blah, blah. And then that's exactly how you would introduce that quote into your paragraph. So say you are doing author's last name. You could say Alexander Hamilton, because he was an author, writes blah, 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 whatever the quote is. Or the author writes, and then whatever the quote is. So those are different ways that you can use, where you can word things. And I mean, some of these you could write in, like, it doesn't have to be for narrative. Instead of character's name, you could say, Abraham Lincoln stated blah, blah, blah. So you can kind of sub those. That's why I said you can kind of use it loosely. The second section, when directly quoting a nonfiction text, this is definitely more for nonfiction genres just because of how they're worded, which I'll show you in a second. So according to whoever, last name, and then whatever the quote is. So say you are researching the history of vaccines, and you have an author and has published whatever on vaccines. According to whoever author, vaccine expert, and then whatever they say. Notice it's got the comma in there, the quotes around there, all of that to show you how to properly do that. Author's last name states whatever. Author's last name, himself or herself, writes whatever. Author's last name's view is clearly seen when he or she states whatever. And also in this one, in his or her book, interview, poem, whatever, title of whatever that is, author's last name, maintains, states, realizes, understands, emphasizes that, and then you put the rest. So all of those are an assortment of different ways that you can put those quotes in. It's not just throw the quote in there and put some quotes around it or just throw a paraphrase in there and I don't know how to make it seamlessly meld with the rest of the paragraph. But if you remember from the writing strategy, you also have the commentary you have to do, which might be super intimidating. If it isn't, wonderful. If it is, no worries. So giving commentary, I've got, all these different bullet points down here on what you can say to make that flow. So after you give your CD, after you give your concrete detail, which can be one of these. Remember, it doesn't have to be a quote. It can also be a paraphrase. But you also need to give 2 commentaries, right? So these are examples of different ways you can introduce your commentary. So you might be tempted, and you might have in the past, want to give a quote and say, I think this means blah, blah, blah. So remember, you don't say I, remember, no first person. So how else can you say what you think without saying I? Very easily. So let's look at these. So giving commentary. So after your concrete detail, this shows, and then you give your commentary. This is important because, in other words, basically, in essence, this establishes, this suggests, this conveys, this reveals, this demonstrates, indicates, creates, develops, and emphasizes. So all of these are different ways that you can introduce your commentary without saying, I think, or I think this means, or to me this means, or anything like that. And this is also an easy way to help you make sure you can include your commentary. You're not saying the same thing over, like you're not saying basically over and over. So you don't want to do that. But it gives you a variety of ways to give your commentary and ways to introduce your quotes. So if you guys have problems with that, if you have questions, just send me an email, or you can meet with me during my office hours and just, holler at me so we can schedule an appointment.